What if I told you there are US cities where the crisis isn't hidden behind statistics? It's right on the sidewalk, under freeway ramps, next to tourist landmarks, outside luxury stores, and even beside schools. And the scary part? In some places, entire blocks can feel like they've quietly flipped into a different reality overnight. This isn't about numbers or politics. It's about visibility, scale, and how normal it's become to see survival happening in plain sight. The final city in this story isn't just struggling. I think it has created an entire street system most people don't realize exists. This is the US cities with the most visible homeless crisis. Denver, Colorado. Denver doesn't always register as a crisis city at first glance. Mountains framing the skyline, luxury apartments rising downtown, and fast-growing neighborhoods give it a polished image. But a closer look reveals a second Denver. Tents lining river trails, people sleeping in doorways, and encampments forming along bike paths and industrial corridors. On any given night, more than 9,000 people experience homelessness in the Denver metro area, according to regional counts, with thousands unsheltered. The visibility of the crisis is driven by a constant push and pull between outdoor camping bans and the reality that shelter capacity often falls short, especially during sudden winter cold snaps. Denver has tested solutions like safe outdoor spaces, vehicle living programs, and expanded emergency shelters. Yet, demand spikes when temperatures drop below freezing, turning housing insecurity into an immediate survival challenge. Extreme weather makes warmth, safety, and indoor space urgent, sometimes life or death needs. Even as the city invests hundreds of millions of dollars in housing and services, rents have risen faster than wages, keeping pressure high. The contrast is most visible in places tourists usually overlook, until it becomes impossible to ignore. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas sells an illusion: neon perfection, non-stop entertainment, and a city that never sleeps. But behind the glow of the Strip, a stark reality unfolds in one of the most visible homelessness crises in America. Hundreds of people live in flood channels, underground tunnels, and along the harsh desert edges that surround the city. Clark County officials have estimated that more than 1,500 people have lived in the storm drain tunnel system alone during peak years, spaces originally designed to carry flash flood water at deadly speeds. The contrast is jarring. Tourists sipping cocktails above ground, while just feet below, people build makeshift shelters from pallets and tarps. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, turning sidewalks and concrete corridors into heat traps, while winter desert nights can drop near freezing, creating constant health risks. Encampments shift between underpasses, parking structures, transit hubs, and service corridors as enforcement and cleanup efforts push people from one area to another. What makes Las Vegas unique is the relentless pressure to preserve its tourist image, ensuring the crisis is rarely resolved, only displaced. In Las Vegas, homelessness doesn't vanish. It circulates, reappearing like a shadow cast by the city's brightest lights. Austin, Texas. Austin's homelessness crisis has grown faster than most Americans realize, especially after years of rapid population growth, tech expansion, and rising housing costs. Recent counts estimate more than 6,000 people experiencing homelessness in Travis County, with visibility sharply increasing along highway frontage roads, greenbelts, underpasses, and downtown corridors near entertainment districts. What makes Austin particularly unsettling is the speed of change. Neighborhoods that felt stable just a few years ago now regularly see tents, vehicle living, and encampments forming almost overnight. The city's history of shifting camping policies, from legalization to renewed bans, has created constant displacement without resolution, pushing people from parks into streets, creeks, and freeway edges. Extreme summer heat adds another layer of risk, making access to shade, water, and services a matter of survival. Austin feels like a warning sign. A fast-growing, successful city where homelessness didn't arrive slowly but surged suddenly and publicly. Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital, defined by monuments, museums, and political power. But its homelessness crisis is especially striking because it unfolds in full view of government institutions. Encampments often appear near major parks, under bridges, and around busy transit hubs, sometimes just blocks from federal buildings and tourist corridors. According to recent point-in-time counts, more than 5,000 people experience homelessness in D.C. on a given night, a high number for a city of its size. What makes D.C. feel different is how political the street-level reality becomes. One block may be heavily patrolled and quickly cleared, while the next feels completely overlooked. High housing costs play a major role, with average rents frequently exceeding $2,300 per month, far outpacing wages for many residents. While shelters exist, they don't work for everyone, particularly people with disabilities, couples, or those who avoid crowded dorm-style settings for safety or mental health reasons. Because D.C. draws national media attention, public pressure often triggers rapid enforcement or encampment sweeps, but enforcement alone doesn't create housing. The crisis remains so visible precisely because it sits beside power, tourism, and daily government life, a constant reminder of systemic failure in plain sight. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix has a unique kind of visibility shaped by extreme heat and endless sprawl, and that makes homelessness impossible to hide. In Maricopa County, which includes Phoenix, recent point-in-time counts have estimated over 9,000 people experiencing homelessness, with thousands unsheltered on any given night. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and in some recent years, hundreds of heat-associated deaths have been recorded, with unhoused residents among the most vulnerable. Survival here isn't just difficult, it can be fatal. That's why encampments cluster near shade lines, canal paths, freeway underpasses, and service roads where there's even minimal relief from the sun. Another major factor is vehicle living. Cars, vans, and RVs parked in patterns that form unofficial neighborhoods, offering at least some protection from heat and displacement. As Phoenix has grown rapidly, rising rents and limited affordable housing have pushed people farther from stability and closer to danger. Visibility increases near downtown and outreach zones because that's where water stations, food services, medical aid, and shelters are located. In Phoenix, moving along isn't a solution. It's a risk, because survival depends on staying close to resources, even when that means being seen. San Jose, California. San Jose sits at the center of Silicon Valley, one of the wealthiest technology hubs on the planet. Yet its homelessness crisis is impossible to ignore. In recent counts, over 6,000 people in Santa Clara County are experiencing homelessness on any given night, with San Jose accounting for the majority of that population. Thousands are unsheltered, living in tents, vehicles, or makeshift structures along creeks, riverbanks, bike trails, and freeway underpasses, often just minutes from billion-dollar tech campuses and luxury housing developments. That extreme proximity is what makes the situation feel so surreal. The visibility is partly geographic. Greenbelts and waterways offer cover and relative safety, while transit corridors and underpasses provide access to services and mobility. But the deeper driver is housing cost. Median rents and home prices have climbed to levels unreachable for many workers, even those employed full-time. When rent rises faster than wages, displacement doesn't vanish, it becomes visible. Camp sweeps may remove one site, but others quickly form because the pressure never eases. San Jose's crisis reflects a stark collision between immense wealth and housing scarcity, where even the world's most advanced economy struggles to provide stability for everyone living in its shadow. Portland, Oregon. Portland's homelessness crisis feels especially intense because it is woven directly into everyday life rather than confined to a single district. Tents line sidewalks near parks, bike paths, schools, and busy commercial corridors, making the issue impossible to ignore. According to the most recent point-in-time counts in Multnomah County, more than 6,000 people experience homelessness on a given night, with roughly half living unsheltered in tents, vehicles, or makeshift camps. Many of these camps appear semi-permanent, built with tarps, pallets, and fencing, because residents are repeatedly displaced and rebuilt with durability in mind. What sets Portland apart is how quickly camps re-emerge after cleanups, creating a constant cycle of clearing and rebuilding that plays out in public view. The visibility is amplified by overlapping crises, high rates of mental health challenges, substance addiction, and limited shelter capacity. This creates an environment that can feel unpredictable and unsafe, increasing public frustration, even among residents who support compassionate solutions. Portland doesn't have one homeless area. The crisis feels distributed across the city. Public space becomes the front line, and everyone ends up sharing it. Seattle, Washington. Seattle's homelessness crisis is visible in layers. Downtown sidewalks, freeway underpasses, industrial zones, and the sharp edges where extreme tech wealth meets rapidly rising living costs. According to recent regional counts, King County reports over 13,000 people experiencing homelessness, with more than half unsheltered, one of the highest rates in the United States. Camps often form near transit lines, food services, and outreach centers, then shift as enforcement policies or cleanup efforts change. Seattle's climate intensifies visibility. Long months of rain, cold and gray skies make tents, tarps, and makeshift wooden structures feel more permanent and urgent. Vehicle living is also widespread, adding to the sense that homelessness is embedded into daily city life. What makes Seattle stand out is not only what you see, but how openly the city debates it. Housing first policies, shelter expansion, mental health treatment, addiction services, and public safety all clash in real time. The result is a crisis that's impossible to ignore. In Seattle, homelessness mirrors rapid economic growth. As prosperity accelerates, displacement and visibility on the streets often rise alongside it. San Francisco, California. San Francisco's homelessness crisis hits especially hard because the city is geographically compact, making the problem feel close, unavoidable, and intensely concentrated. In some neighborhoods, you can walk from luxury storefronts and tech offices to tent encampments in a matter of minutes, creating a jarring contrast that amplifies public perception. According to the most recent point-in-time counts, San Francisco has over 8,000 people experiencing homelessness, with roughly 60 to 65% living unsheltered, one of the highest proportions among major U.S. cities. Tourism also plays a major role in visibility. Millions of visitors pass through dense corridors near downtown, transit hubs, and iconic areas where homelessness is hardest to hide. The city's extreme housing costs, with median rents often exceeding $3,000 per month, mean even small financial shocks can push residents onto the street. San Francisco also invests heavily in social services, outreach, and food programs, which can unintentionally concentrate unsheltered populations near areas where help is available. Street cleanups may temporarily change appearances, but encampments return because the demand for housing and treatment far outweighs supply. In San Francisco, the crisis unfolds in plain sight. Small footprint, global spotlight, and no easy way to look away. New York City, New York. New York's homelessness crisis is visible in a way few cities can match because of its sheer scale and density. On any given night, over 100,000 people rely on the city's shelter system, making it the largest in the United States, while roughly 3,000 to 4,000 people are unsheltered, sleeping in subway stations, sidewalks, parks, and doorways. What makes New York feel different is that homelessness exists inside the city's main arteries. Millions of commuters pass through the same stations, corridors, and platforms where people are trying to survive. So the crisis is impossible to avoid. Mental health emergencies often unfold in public transit and crowded spaces, bringing the issue directly into daily life rather than keeping it hidden on the margins. The city's relentless pace magnifies visibility. A small group in a quiet area becomes dozens in a major hub like Midtown or Lower Manhattan. And because New York operates 24/7, the crisis never pauses. At night, colder sidewalks, harsher lighting, and emptier streets make the reality even more stark. In New York, homelessness is visible because the city itself never stops moving. Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles ranks number 1 because nowhere else in the United States has a homelessness crisis as large, as permanent, and as openly visible as this. And at the center of it all is Skid Row, a neighborhood that has become one of the most concentrated homeless zones in the developed world. Spanning dozens of city blocks in downtown LA, Skid Row functions less like a temporary encampment and more like a parallel city, with thousands of people living outdoors in tents, makeshift shelters, and sidewalk structures year-round. What makes Los Angeles uniquely severe is scale and climate. Mild weather allows outdoor survival every month of the year, while extreme housing costs continuously push new people onto the streets faster than they can be housed. Entire corridors are lined with tents beneath freeways, beside rail lines and outside warehouses, forming long, continuous stretches of street living that feel impossible to ignore. Skid Row magnifies this reality. Services, shelters, and outreach are heavily concentrated there, which unintentionally keeps the crisis anchored in place. The result is a district where poverty, mental illness, addiction, and survival exist in full view, steps away from luxury apartments, art districts, and financial centers. In Los Angeles, homelessness isn't hidden or scattered. It has a name, a location, and a visible footprint that reshapes the city itself. What you've seen isn't the result of one city or one policy. It's a system under pressure, repeating itself across the country. But in Los Angeles, that pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Click on the 10 most shocking secrets of LA's Skid Row. It exposes realities few people ever talk about, and once you see it, you won't forget it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and keep exploring the strange side of our world with Oddly Abroad.